Super Rugby Aotearoa. Crusaders. Crusaders. You can't maybe see that very clearly on the whiteboard because my markers ran out of pen, but 39 points to 17. An absolute hiding over the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs were always on a bit of a hiding to nothing against the Crusaders going down to Christchurch. Nobody gave them a chance, and maybe for good reason. I'll go over some of the key events of the game, some of the stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on the game itself. But, yeah, she pretty much went according to the script. There was a bit of a refereeing controversy in this one, which does upset things a little bit, and it makes things a bit more complicated. But anyway, that kind of is what it is. Interestingly, the Chiefs actually started with their best passage of the game in about the first 15 minutes, maybe just less than 15 minutes. They went about 10 phases early. I think Havili had a kick, and the Chiefs just ran it back at them. And within a minute, Damian McKenzie was over the line. Unbelievable start from the Chiefs, and they absolutely needed that because you don't go down to Christchurch and get a result unless you're on absolute fire. And they started with the fire. They had a hell of a kick. It was a really good conversion. They did TMO check it to see if he kind of rolled the ball forward. And to be honest, from the TMO, I don't know if I can say that he didn't roll it forward. But again, it's one of those ones where the on-field decision is a try. So unless it's clear and obvious, they can't overrule it. So if you're looking at it without the clear and obvious factor, you maybe say he rolled it forward. But if you're saying it's got to be clear and obvious to overrule it, maybe you can't quite go that far. But anyway, it's a good start from the Chiefs. Cutting run from D-Mac in to score the try. So 7 points to 0. Great conversion in the wind. And the Crusaders conceded a few penalties early. D-Mac missed one penalty on 5 minutes, but he made up for it on 8, where he kicked the second penalty to make it 10 points to 0. Now, remember, the Chiefs only scored 17 points in the entire game. So for them to be up 10-0 early is actually a pretty good start. 13 minutes, though, the Crusaders won a scrum penalty, and I wrote a note that said, momentum shift. My daughter's crying in the background because she's just gutted that the Chiefs couldn't get up in the result down in Christchurch. But I wrote momentum shift, and I think it's pretty much from that moment on that the Crusaders just run away with this game. I know the halftime score is still pretty close. Like when I say run away with it, it's maybe doing a bit of an injustice. But honestly, the second half, the Chiefs virtually weren't in the game. The Chiefs conceded a try, seemingly initially from Fainganuku. D-Mac maybe looks to have saved the try, and it's probably the Crusaders' first attacking chance down in the Chiefs' half. I better give my missus a hand with the crying baby. Give me a second. All right, the little one seems to have settled down a wee bit. Fingers crossed. So what was I saying? Fainganuku gets the first try for the Crusaders, and it's probably their first visit down to the Chiefs 22, to be fair. It looks like D-Mac has maybe put him into touch right at the last second. And they have to TMO it. For mine, just like the D-Mac try, it looks a little bit dodgy. And that I think his foot brushes the grass before he hits the ball down to the ground with a fingertip try. It's a phenomenal finish. If you haven't seen it, the All Blacks upload the highlights to the YouTube channel, maybe even quicker than I can get this video up. It's phenomenal, but I thought maybe it was a wee bit dodgy, but he says it's not clear and obvious, which is maybe fair enough. They missed the conversion, so it's 10 points, 15. Chiefs are still in front. The Crusaders get held up on 23 minutes. It's a goal line dropout. 26 minutes, the Crusaders win a penalty again. The Chiefs are offside, so the Crusaders opt for 3. It's 8 points to 10, so the Crusaders are slowly whittling down that Chiefs lead. The Chiefs get a yellow card warning on 29 minutes because they've conceded about 5 penalties in a row. And eventually the Chiefs get a scrum penalty conceded, so the Crusaders kick that one as well to make it 11 points to 10. That's the one and only lead change of the game. The Chiefs will not be back in front for the remainder of this one. The Crusaders get another scrum penalty on 34. It's really just like a penalty factory for them at that scrum time. Interestingly though, like on 37 minutes, when the Chiefs have just been under the pump for the majority of that kind of 30-minute period, Luke Jacobson gets a hell of a a turnover on defence, and then they actually win a breakdown penalty. So it's like maybe they've shifted the momentum. Because after that first 10-minute push, they've been on the back foot for the majority of the game. So maybe it's a momentum shifter. And DMAC tries to slot a 50-metre penalty right before halftime, but it goes wide. He did have the distance, so they had the potential to go in to the sheds in the lead, the Chiefs, which would have been hard going on the Crusaders because they dominated that first half for the most part, apart from the opening stanza, but not to be. Crusaders still going with a 1-point lead. Run meters first half 184 to 81 Crusaders. Possession 57, territory 59 Crusaders. Defenders beaten 11 to 4. Tackling percentage, Crusaders are in the 90s, 93. Chiefs are 83. Penalties conceded is 8 to 4. The Crusaders are all over it. Second half, it continues on, and interestingly, it starts with a bit of controversy because there is a try which ends up being a penalty try, and it's dodgy because Sam Cane goes for a captain's referral, saying there was a forward pass in the build-up to the try, and the TMO rules that Brad Weber knocked the ball backwards. So from the Crusaders angle, it's forwards, but as Brad Weber's hand going, it's backwards. But he doesn't hit the ball. He hits Richie Mo'unga's hands, which still means it's propelled forward from a Crusaders player. So the challenge should be successful, but they've got this new law in for a reason, and they absolutely make a howler of it, which is really, really disappointing. And then as a consequence, they play on. They play the clip forward for the TMO to check the try. Brad Weber's given away a penalty for tackling one of the Crusaders guys in an offside position, preventing a try. So it's a penalty and a yellow card. And that stems from the fact they mucked up the captain's challenge. So it's a bit of a travesty, that one. Yeah, it doesn't do the Chiefs any favours. The Chiefs look to be immediately punished with a Sevu Reece break and a huge pass for a try, but they ruled that pass as forward. And if anything, actually, I mean, the ball did travel forward, but Reece is running that fast that the ball's always going to travel forward. Remember, you've seen the physics of it. You've seen those videos where if you're running and you pass it laterally, it naturally travels forward. It could have even been one of those ones, but maybe to make up for it, they call that one off. So there's no try. The Chiefs do remarkably well to hold out for that yellow card period, but right before it's finished, Will Jordan gets a try. It's a nice little inside ball from Richie Mo'unga, and he's got a clear run to the try line. It's 25-10. It's 7 points during the yellow card. Only like after the 10 minutes have expired. It's like next stoppage, the Chiefs are going to be back to 15. So pretty tough. And then the Crusaders, 62 minutes go, 14 phases. Fetu Douglas gets a try, just a nice little jink from him and some quick ball. 68 minutes, Mitch Dunshea gets a try, 9 phases. And it was weird as well because like Will Jordan at one point when the attack's disjointed, he's just running cross field, like he's going nowhere, and he still manages to get over the advantage line. The the Chiefs defenders just kind of standing off him. I know he's a very dangerous attacker, but you can't be doing that. So yeah, he beats a couple of tacklers, does Will Jordan. Great conversion as well. It makes it 39 points to 10. That's the end of the scoring for the Crusaders. The Chiefs do get a consolation one through Nana Satura on 72. DMAC threaded the pass through for that one, so they got the try and the conversion at the end. But man, the Chiefs were well beaten. Well beaten. The TMO stuff did not help this game. It didn't do any favours, but I can't deny the Crusaders' victory, man. Run meters 396 to 181. Kicks from hand, interestingly, 30 to 18-30. The Crusaders kick the ball a ton, and it works for them. Possession 63-37, territory 71-29. Tackling, the Crusaders are at 95%, which is about as high as you will ever see it. Make 104 tackles. The Chiefs are still 87%, which is decent. Make 158. But if you look at the fact that the Crusaders got 10 clean breaks, that means not even a guy in the vicinity to make a tackle. It does the tackling percentage for the Chiefs. It gives it a bit of a flattering look, to be honest. Chiefs have 1 clean break in the game, so it's 10-1. Defenders beaten 23-6. Penalties conceded 15-10, with the Chiefs conceding more. Like the stats are just all over the shop, man. And interestingly, the Chiefs have doubled the knock-ons of the Crusaders, even though they only had 37% of the ball, 6-3. So Mo'unga has 9 defenders beaten on his own. Sam Cane makes 19 out of 21 tackles, so he's always there defensively. Sean Stevenson shut down a few of the plays. He didn't have much ball, but he did pretty well to shut down a few of the Crusaders' attacking plays, I thought. But yeah, Crusaders just too good. The Chiefs have an away game to the Hurricanes next week. For both of those sides, that game becomes very, very important. And the Blues have got the Crusaders at home, which in terms of the Super Rugby Aotearoa comp, maybe becomes a bit of an important one. Because if the if the Crusaders just go on a huge unbeaten run, doesn't do the competition any favours. The Blues could really use a win. And I'm trying to say that not just as a Blues man. But anyway, we'll see how the Blues go against the Highlanders first. They got to get a job done there. They haven't played for a couple of weeks. So anyway, we'll see. You guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How did you think it went? Did you think the Chiefs were hard done by the TMO? I don't think it was going to change the result anyway. The Crusaders were just too good. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. Talk to you again soon. See you later.